The heat is on. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Charity, disaster. Reputational, disaster. Professional, disaster. Financial, disaster. It's all coming together. And as a result, sources say that the couple are so unhappy that it resulted in a massive bust-up over their plans this summer. Now, you'll know that I was the first reporter, all of those years ago now, to reveal the strains in the marriage in Montecito. The mainstream media has been very slow to catch up, but Heat magazine has gone there this week with a front page cover story revealing the specific argument was about Harry's demands for Meghan to return to the United Kingdom. Now, Radar Online say they have backed this story up, going one step further, saying that the marriage is now imploding as a result of this huge row. Their report is that RadarOnline.com can reveal strain between the Sussexes has increased in recent weeks, and the argument took place before Meghan's pre-planned trip to Geneva. So let's get into this reporting from Heat magazine. Their source says that things boiled over just hours before Meghan flew out to Geneva, and she and Harry didn't speak for a while afterwards. Meghan's mum, Doria, was staying at their house while she was away, and so she was FaceTiming to speak to the children. Harry had been getting incredibly sentimental ahead of their 8th anniversary, while also desperately trying to map out this big family summer in Europe. He's carving out the time at Balmoral so his father, King Charles, can see Archie and Lilibet. The plan for Harry and Meghan was to base themselves in Portugal for the summer, then spend time in Balmoral. But Meghan has heard that William and Kate have told Harry the Sussexes are not welcome and they refuse to have their family sanctuary disrupted by what they call Hollywood drama. Meghan flipped and a normal argument turned into a showdown. Tensions are at an all-time high. Now, you'll remember Meghan returned from Geneva and there was a big song and dance made about the couple's wedding anniversary. I think that was part of the Flood the Zone strategy, which was desperately designed to sort of say, nothing happened, it doesn't matter that only 10 people showed up. But at the same time, perhaps it is because she's even trying to convince herself that things are on track in this relationship. The Heat report goes on. Despite the loved up post on Instagram, we're told the couple are at a standoff over their summer. As well as the Balmoral trip, the plan had been for Meghan to join her husband in the UK in July for a one-year countdown event to the 2027 Invictus Games taking place in Birmingham. However, our source says Meghan has now told Harry to go without her. They had Meghan's bust up with Harry was a big one, and she's digging her heels in. She's told Harry to go to the UK without her, as there was no way she would be joining. She doesn't want to put herself or the kids through the drama. And of course, there has been a huge amount of negative tabloid coverage for the Sussexes this week on both sides of the Atlantic, with Star magazine and Page Six reporting on the fact that the couple are effectively going broke and that breadwinner Meghan is starting to panic. So look, P. Diner, we know. P. Diner's with me, by the way. This is Royal YouTube Sensation. Thank you, P. Diner. But we know they have their big arguments, right? Like, Harry even admitted it in Spare, didn't he? That Meghan had basically said, if you ever speak to me like that again, it's over. And at that point, they were actually pretty happy compared to where they're at now. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't any issues in the marriage when Harry was writing Spare, or certainly they were at a much earlier stage than where they're at now. So, yeah, of course there were. I mean, of course there are constant bust-ups, I guess is the point that I'm making. And of course there is tension over Harry's desire to spend time in the United Kingdom, but Meghan knows she needs to come back too. She's going to have to turn back on her word, and that is for financial reasons. But does anything surprise you about this report in Heat magazine, apparently backed up by Radar Online?
Well, I think it's just an insight into what we are going to see continue to happen, only because, when he was writing Spare, that's when they were aligned in purpose. They were both trying to put stain on the royal family. They all didn't, Harry and Meghan didn't want to, show them any grace. They wanted to completely rag on their life in the UK. But now Harry has turned over, and now I believe, is feeling very regretful. And now they're no longer aligned in purpose, and they will continue to clash. This is the beginning of many more arguments. And the question then becomes, how long can they sustain the relationship no longer aligned in purpose? And I don't think very long, because you have to look at the fact that Harry is losing out when it comes to his children knowing anything about him and his future or his life that he had in the UK. Their whole lives is going to be spent in America. And Harry will never be able to have his children experience anything that he experienced, Harry, when he was growing up. This I believe is very hurtful to Harry. He is starting to see now that he is missing out and his children are missing out and that Meghan is controlling everything. And I feel, is feeling very regretful. He is looking at Meghan as someone that is controlling his life completely, despite how he feels. So it's just the beginning for him. It's going to get so much more worse, especially as the children continue to grow up. They become more knowledgeable around things of their family that they're missing out in the UK. That's going to hurt Harry, knowing that they don't have these experiences, seeing Charlotte and George and all the cousins getting together and learning things about each other, having those childhood memories together. And his children will have who? Nobody. Harry's children will completely be isolated with no real tight bond to that royal image that has made Harry who he still is today. So I feel that he is going to start being more and more resentful towards Meghan and go against what she says more and more because that is a strong longing for your own culture, your own life, how you experienced it is going to weigh heavily on him. And he's going to see his children are losing out completely. And he's not going to like it. And he'll go against her and they'll fight continually. And it's going to be a huge problem. You have to remember, Dan, I lived this. I know exactly what is going to happen. I've been where Harry is right now, and I know it's going to be very hard for him. The question is then, can he kind of plow through and kind of just discard his own feelings? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he's going to have a very big longing to have his children experience his life in the UK, their life in the UK.
The problem is, P. Dinah, he doesn't really have a choice now, though, as to whether to cope or not, does he? Sort of has to cope, at least for the moment. I mean, I don't think he's emotionally coping. I don't think he's physically coping, but it's not as simple anymore of just walking away.
No, it's not. But I think Harry, he tries to work on his mental state. I think it's weighing heavily on him. So he may be talking a lot about this in therapy and trying to find a way around it. But I just don't think he always needs someone to tell him what to do. And I think the king and May, I'm not sure if it's happening now, but could be trying to reconcile. I don't know. I know William's not, but I think Harry is having some conversations. Something is happening that is drawing him back to, family, seeing his father before it's too late. We have to also remember that Harry had a huge regret around what happened with his mother before she passed. And I think Harry sees it happening again now with his father. And that is the urgency that he is feeling about getting back to the UK and having his children meet their grandfather. So this is also Harry trying to not repeat history. So there is a strong pull that he is feeling right now. And it's going to be a battle for him because Meghan, I think, is one tough cookie when it comes to not allowing Harry to take these children and for herself not to even go back. Because I think she's been playing around with the idea, but not sure that she can handle the rejection that she's going to feel because there will be a lot of rejection for her going back to the UK. It's a tough situation that they're in. And we all knew it was coming, Dan, did we not? We knew this day was going to come. On that freedom flight, we knew it. It was like, oh, yeah, you're going to regret that freedom flight.
100%. And everyone tried to warn him. His friends tried to warn him. His relatives tried to warn him. Even commentators like me tried to warn him because you're right. It was very obvious what was coming. And of course, there's also going to be an element of this P. Dinah where he feels a little bit ashamed deep down in his core. Not because he didn't listen to people like me, but because he didn't listen to people like his brother, like his grandmother, like his father, who were right.
They were right, and he knows it. He has to put aside the shame, I think, to get over what has happened and to try to move on from that and humble himself, that he screwed up and to start to rebuild his life because he's not happy. He will never be happy with Meghan living an isolated life in Montecito because that is a life that I think he does not want at all. He wants his family back with his children. And at this rate, it doesn't look like he's going to get it. And what will that do for him emotionally, mentally? I can see Harry having a complete breakdown and suffering tremendously from substance abuse, trying to overcome these difficulties. I think it could get really dark for him.
I think it will. I think it will indeed. And Pete Dinah, what's so interesting is, have you noticed every time the going gets really tough for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, The Daily Mail, which is playing a very odd game, and I have reported on this for a long time, and not everyone wants to believe me, but this game is on behalf of Buckingham Palace and Tobin Andre, who is the communications head for King Charles, who had that secret meeting with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's team, which was leaked to the Mail on Sunday, and is effectively, I think, working to try and undermine William and Catherine. Anytime things are really tough for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Daily Mail sends out one of its wicked witches to launch a deranged attack on Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, and try and change the subject, try and move the narrative. Now, I don't think it works, but it's very obvious to me what's going on. And earlier in the week, I said, well, I'm not even going to talk about Liz Jones's latest attack. But then I changed my mind, P. Dinah, because actually for me, and I know a lot of people disagree with this, but I think we have to talk about these attacks because we have to call them out. We have to show how ludicrous they are. We have to make the point that these attacks are for a particular reason, are being made at times at the behest of Buckingham Palace, as much as people don't like to acknowledge that, because this attack is pretty bizarre. She has said in this headline, and remember, the headline's what matters most at the Daily Mail because it's what's seen by millions of people on the front page and it spreads the message. Why I fear Prince William and Kate's, of course they call her Kate, not Catherine, latest worthy causes, in quotes, are a catastrophic mistake. And it turns out she's talking about Prince William's decision to sell and modernize the duchy, which you can debate, you can disagree with whether it's the right thing to do or not, but to suggest it's a catastrophic mistake, given the types of catastrophic mistakes that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are making, including around African parks, which Liz Jones has not commented on at all, shows you that this is targeted. So here's what she actually wrote. It's quite an astonishing tirade and very bizarre. She said, I find myself questioning whether Prince William is the right person to be involved in this housing initiative. So effectively, Prince William wanting to end homelessness is bad, according to Liz Jones. Why, you might ask? Well, she writes, would such a privileged individual ever be able to truly understand the difficulties he wants to help others overcome, presenting himself as a housing saviour to those in the duchy? Unless you have been unable to buy a house, been evicted, or forced to rent, you cannot possibly begin to comprehend how housing, or indeed the lack of it, affects every moment of your life. Now, again, P. Dinah, that is a total misunderstanding from Liz Jones about what charity is. I mean, if that really is how you're going to start thinking about charity, that means that you couldn't support a cancer charity unless you had suffered from cancer. You couldn't support an AIDS charity unless you had suffered from AIDS, which would render all of Princess Diana's charity work completely useless. Now, of course, it was very helpful when Princess Diana was supporting the issues surrounding bulimia, for example, that she was able to personally say, I had suffered from bulimia. But she didn't need to have actually been blown up by a landmine. You know, she didn't need to actually be suffering from AIDS to have made huge differences in those walks of life. So I think this shows you it's a very intellectually disingenuous argument from Liz Jones. But anyway, she went on. William cannot possibly know how this feels to not have your own things around you, to be at the whim of someone else when it comes to the basic appliances you need to live your life. Now, that is because Liz Jones has had financial difficulties and has had to rent and finds it really difficult being booted out of her rented homes. She said, our future king has never lived in the real world, never had his deposit retained because he threw out the broken fairy lights, never been kept indoors waiting when his landlady asks if she can pop round to look in her locked loft and then doesn't bother to turn up. His intentions are, I hope, honourable, but just as doling out food in a soup kitchen for a brief photo opportunity does not cuss it, so playing at being benefactor is all about optics. So again, that is a completely nutso argument, because what she is effectively admitting here is that in her view, Prince William can never win. Okay, he can never win, because if he's doing a photo opportunity, that doesn't cut it. Okay. But giving away literally hundreds of millions of dollars, that doesn't cut it either. Now, it gets even more crazy, P. Dinah, because then she talks about William's face, his actual face. She says, William's concerned face does admit empathy, but until you have walked the walk, please don't talk the talk. Yes, he visited Centrepoint as a child with his mother Diana. He slept rough for, what was it, one night in 2009? I'd have more respect if he requisitioned the palaces and turned them into social housing and turfed out the York princesses from their Grace and Favour London apartments, because how many homes do these people actually need? And at that point, P. Dinah, do you see what's just happened there? The entire thesis has fallen down, because Liz Jones, let me just tell you, the only person who could currently turn palaces in the United Kingdom into social housing is King Charles. The only person in the United Kingdom who could turf out Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie from their grace and favour London apartments is King Charles. Now, of course, I'm not saying he should do that. I mean, it's almost a crazy communist argument to start suggesting, like, you've got to let the homeless live in Buckingham Palace. Like, I can't believe the Daily Mail has even published this nutty stuff, which you'd usually expect to see in The Guardian or somewhere in the hard left. But the problem is, Pete Diner, it just shows you that when someone is so desperate to make a deranged attack on Prince William, the Daily Mail will not get facts get in the way. Because when I was a columnist at the Daily Mail, Pete Diner, there's no way I would have got away with writing that. My boss, you know, who was the editor of the website, unfortunately he's departed now, Martin Clark, he would said, Dan, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Prince William can't turf out the princesses. That's not his job. He's not the king. So
Wow.
can you understand why I had to pick this apart once I'd read it, Pete Diner? I initially just wanted to ignore it, but because it was just so nutty and it shows to me how deranged these attacks are now becoming, I was like, I've got to talk about this because it was even included in the Palace confidential newsletter. Like, the people who are meant to be accurately reporting on the British royal family were pushing this nonsense. And I just wish people would start realizing what the Daily Mail is really about.
Man, what a stretch, huh? I mean, when I read that initially, I could not believe it. It's like, really, for real? Like that, this is where you're really searching for something because you don't have anything else. I mean, you have to look at someone doing this as you're just trying to find the littlest thing to have a complaint about because you're completely biased and you don't want to see something be successful, no matter, I think, really how simple it is in terms of, you know, the work that William wants to do. But to try to make him out to have made some catastrophic, or it could be a catastrophic thing. It sounds like you just really don't want this man to have any goodwill out there, meaningful things that he's trying to do to be successful. I mean, my goodness, what else can the man do? I mean, he's born into a situation where, you know, he has this life, and thank God he wants to do something that is going to help underserved people. But at the same time, don't make it out where, you know, he has to do like what, you know, being a socialist and trying to make it seem like, okay, well, if he has it, all the poor people have to have it. Have them move into the palaces. Like, that is so ridiculous, you know. And you know, the people that do this, you can clearly see that they are trying to put out a narrative that is negative and doesn't want to see this man really be for the people in a good way. It's laughable, really. It's like I can't even take it seriously, you know, because come on now, you're really reaching here. It's disgusting. Why? I mean, William and his work is so good for people. I don't understand why the always nagging at what William and Catherine are doing and not even calling Catherine by her name. You know, you're just trying to make conflict and problems. And then I almost have to question, you know, your work as a journalist because this doesn't even seem fair, you know. But hey, what can you do, really? What can you do, Dan?
Well, I know, but the thing is, Pete Diner, I do have to keep calling out what the mainstream media are doing here because that's why people shouldn't be trusting them, right? It's why people shouldn't be trusting what they read in the Daily Mail, and it's why they should be coming to independent people like you and like me who can deliver the truth, because it's not just the Daily Mail doing it, Pete Diner. I was super shocked by this. It's also the Daily Express who have now joined the campaign, the Project Thor campaign. Look at this. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are missed in the UK. They must return as working royals. They must. The pair could have been a powerhouse for the royal family. Now, this is written by one of their senior news reporters. Here she is, Alicia McNamara. So she is on staff at the Daily Express. And trust me, Pete Diner, these articles are not published by a newspaper as a coincidence. This is the Daily Express changing its editorial line. Now, again, I thought her article was totally ludicrous. So let me just take you through the lowlights. Okay, she said, for me, Prince Harry and Meghan have a relatability to them. They're not perfect and don't pretend to be. Isn't that just like anyone else? I mean, I would argue they do pretend to be perfect, and that is the problem, and they are lacking any authenticity. She added, Prince Harry, like many families across the UK and the world, has famously struggled with family troubles and quarrels. Most of us are lucky enough not to have this plastered all over the news. Meghan Markle wasn't raised a royal. She lived a life away from the limelight before becoming an actress and joining the royal family. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle must be reveling in their decision to step away from the royals, with even more scandals hitting the family since their departure. Andrew has come off much worse than the pair ever could, with public uproar through the roof. Meanwhile, Harry, who has 2 young children, can barely get any security, and it doesn't seem that he's welcome back in the UK anytime soon, sadly. Surely, compared to Andrew, anything with Prince Harry and Meghan is water under the bridge by now. So please, let's send Andrew to America and have Prince Harry and Meghan back. Now, the thing that I found most nuts about this P. Dinah was her claim that Harry and Meghan are just so happy that they stepped away. It's like, if so, why are they so desperate to worm their way back in? Why are they so desperate to get the state-funded security? We don't want them. But why is it that the Daily Express P. Dinah has now joined what has been coined Operation Thor? Because that is an article which does not reflect the views of the British public. So it's not a coincidence that they have decided to publish it. A very quick but personal message from me to you to let you know that the best way you can support Dan Wootton Outspoken is to subscribe to my Substack at www.outspoken.live. Substack is a free speech platform that protects me from big tech cancellation and lawfare. Paid annual or monthly subscribers get an extra hour of content with the Royal Uncancelled After Show available every weekday with no advertising whatsoever. You can also message me direct on there. That's www.outspoken.live.
Yeah, I had asked this question on my live yesterday, and everyone said, no, they are not missed. That is ludicrous. I'm sorry that people are not missing Harry and Meghan. They do not want them back. This is, the beginning of trying to plant these seeds around, everything is water under the bridge now. We want them back, but that's not what people are saying. That's not how they feel. People do remember everything that has happened. And it's, I think, trying to make it like when they eventually, or Harry, not sure if Meghan will go back, that people will think, oh, we missed you and we're glad you're here. But I don't think that is the consensus with the majority of the people. Absolutely not. But they're trying to plant that seed to get people to see it like, okay, let's just forget about everything that happened, And I don't think that's the right thing to do, because a lot of damage has been done by Harry and Meghan. And I don't think that the British people have forgotten what has happened, and they are not missed. It's just trying to tell a narrative, to try to get people to get on board and to follow it. But I don't think that is going to happen at all. It is unbelievable that you could even suggest that. It's an insult to the people, because they have been the one who had their names disdained by this couple, the racist claims, what Harry has done, to his brother, to the institution. It's almost an insult to the public. I mean, I look at the things that I've talked about on my channel. I don't know if you've seen it, but I did do a song about this. Do you remember what has happened? We're not going to forget, and I'm surely not going to forget.
Absolutely, but that's why, P. Dinah, that is why I say people should be watching your channel. Thank goodness people are here right now watching this channel, because honestly, you can't trust the mainstream media anymore on these issues. And I used to work I've never worked at the Express, but I was the most read columnist for the Daily Mail, and they can't be trusted anymore. They cannot be trusted anymore. And I know people will say, well, look, the Daily Mail and the Daily Express are monarchist newspapers, are royalist newspapers. Well, I would argue they were. But now they're doing this dirty work for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and trying to gaslight the British public. No, thank you. So
this video is for news reporting, commentary, and educational purposes. The views expressed are based on publicly available information and personal analysis. We strive for accuracy but encourage viewers to verify information through official sources.